I'm Bobby Flay. Each week, one brave chef will try to take me down in my house. This culinary battle is gonna shake down in 2 rounds. Round 1, to get to me, 2 contenders have to go through each other first, using an ingredient of my choice.
Let the games begin!
2 people that know me well will decide who's got the skills to beat me.
He's gonna smoke you.
Turn up the heat!
Round 2, I go head-to-head with a winning contender. It's their turn to surprise me with their signature dish. That's what you brought here?
I'm excited.
Bottom line, everyone's out to beat me. Now I'm nervous. Here are 2 people who will get a kick out of seeing me sweat tonight. Say hello to Chef Michael Simon and comedian Judah Friedlander.
Our first contender is a rising star. He's the executive chef of Malibu Pier Restaurant in California. Please welcome Jason Fullilove. Oh boy, here we go.
Our next contender grew up in New York kitchens. He's currently the executive chef of Delmonico's. Meet Billy Oliva.
Welcome in. You're gonna have 20 minutes to make an ingredient the star of your dish. And that ingredient is sweet potatoes. And your time starts now.
How you doing, my man?
I'm good. How are you, Chef?
All right. What are you thinking you're gonna make?
I'm gonna do a sweet potato and ginger soup with crispy bacon and pomegranate.
Soup.
Soup.
What are you gonna make?
Maybe a warm sweet potato hash with a little wilted greens.
Sounds good too.
I'm really big on palate fatigue. I like for things to change while you eat them. So we're gonna add a little crispy bacon on one side, a little fresh pomegranate with some fresh herbs in a different area. So it's constantly changing as you're tasting the soup.
I got my sweet potatoes cooking, and now I gotta get the bacon because I wanna use some of that fat to start cooking the sweet potatoes and brown them up. I grabbed the shrimp, seasoned them with salt and pepper, a little bit of Mexican chili powder. The shrimp is gonna make it a full meal, but the sweet potatoes are still gonna shine.
I need to puree everything and finish it with a little butter.
How's my bacon look over there? Those are the smallest pieces of bacon I've ever seen. Come on, you gotta bring it to Bobby here. You gotta take him down.
Everything in the soup so far is very sweet, creamy, so I want to add something very raw and herbaceous to the soup to just completely change the tone of it. I add a little dill, tarragon, and parsley to make a light salad.
It's definitely a risk trying to crisp up the sweet potatoes, but I want to try and do that to add another dimension of texture to the dish. For a hash, it's always good to have a little bit of a crunch. There's no going back now. I gotta hope that they pull together enough and that I get them on the plate.
Billy, Jason, bring it!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jason, I see the dish here. Can you tell me more about it?
I made a sweet potato and ginger bisque pomegranate salad with some fresh herbs and some crispy bacon.
Really nice flavor. Love the ginger in there. Ginger and sweet potato, a really natural combination.
It's really nice bacon. It's the smallest bacon I've ever seen. It's small but mighty. And then you got the pomegranate area.
And the texture of the pomegranates is actually great. I would like to see something, maybe a little tart, maybe a Greek yogurt or a creme fraiche. I think you could have stretched yourself maybe a little more. Billy, tell us a little bit about what you made today.
Today we made a sweet potato hash with spicy shrimp, smoked bacon, and some wilted spinach.
I love the bacon in there. You didn't render the bacon out till it was crispy. You left some of that fatty, unctuous, smoky happiness. If you had 5 more minutes, the dish would have had a little bit more finesse. Sweet potatoes were a touch over. The flavors were there. It just felt a little sloppy to me.
I'm kind of a sloppy guy, so I didn't really notice the sloppiness. You know, I like this spinach. Popeye's been eating it for years, and it's definitely something athletes eat like myself. This is really good, man. Guys, this was a tough decision, but only one person can move forward, and that's gonna be Jason.
Definitely disappointed. I should have cooked the sweet potatoes a little bit less. It was a great learning experience. I'm glad I did it. I know for next time.
My signature dish is Bouillabaisse.
All right. Bouillabaisse is not something I make, but let's cook some fish.
You have 45 minutes, and your time starts now.
This This bouillabaisse is a really popular dish at my restaurant, but it's all about the broth. So I'm using tomatoes, carrots, onion, bell pepper, garlic, anchovy paste, and olives. Traditionally, bouillabaisse is a one-pot meal. What I do differently is I build a really strong broth and then cook all the seafood separately.
My game plan is to get started on the broth. Fennel, onions, garlic, tomatoes, saffron, some shrimp stock, a little bit of lobster stock, and a little bit of Pernod, which is an anise-flavored liqueur. You're gonna taste the fennel flavor through the Pernod, and you're gonna taste some saffron and a little bit of tomato. It's gonna take me probably about 35 minutes to finish the broth.
All right, Jason, looks like you have some delicious stuff here. What kind of seafood are you putting in your bouillabaisse?
Clams, mussels, prawns, striped bass, and uni.
Ooh, uni.
Uni is a sea urchin. It has that oceany, briny taste.
Looking good.
I'm using striped sea bass because I love the flavor of the fish. Sea bass has a little bit more fat to it, which I think makes it cook well. I pull the carcasses off, get them on a sheet tray, and throw it in the oven to get the roast off a little bit, and then throw the carcasses in with the broth.
I'm gonna go mostly traditional with a couple twists here and there. I'm gonna use some Calabrian chilies in mine, anchovies for flavor, prawns from Spain, mussels, some lobster. I'm also gonna use some sea scallops and some halibut. There's nothing really easy about this dish because there's so many components. I sear off the fish and I'm putting it in the fridge so it stops cooking because I don't want the seafood to overcook. I just want it to finish cooking in the broth at the end.
Traditionally, a bouillabaisse is served with a rouille, which is a mixture of egg yolk, saffron, olive oil. I want something to cut through the stew, so I'm gonna do this lemon aioli instead. I'm gonna make saffron pasta pearls with Vancini di pepe. These are little pasta pearls that I'm just cooking down in a saffron broth, and it's gonna add some texture and some pop and also make the dish look beautiful.
For the rouille, I'm using mayonnaise, tomato, parsley, and chives, and anchovy.
I grab my broth, I strain everything out, and just get the clear broth into a pot. I think it's a little light on flavor still, but I know once I add the clams and mussels and shrimp into it, it's gonna brighten it back up. So I hold off on finishing seasoning it until the very last minute.
I'm opening the mussels in the broth because the mussel juice is actually gonna add more flavor to the broth. I love the flavor of mussel broth.
It looks like Bobby's adding anchovies to butter.
Bobby, are you gonna finish it with the anchovy butter? Yes? Bobby, is anchovy butter, is that traditional or is that a twist?
Just tastes good.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Bobby, Jason, awesome battle. Now it's time to meet your judges. Your first judge is the executive chef and owner of Pig and Cow in New York City, Leah Cohen. Next, the executive chef and owner of Aldea in New York City, George Mendez. And next, the chef and owner of Atelier Cren in San Francisco, Dominique Cren.
Judges, I'm not gonna say I'm jealous, but I am because you get to eat this food. Please dig in.
To me, it tasted like a bouillabaisse should taste from the onset. It has a lot of oceanic qualities going on. That's elemental in a nice bouillabaisse.
The bouillabaisse is all about the broth, and the broth needs to have different layers, and I think that's what I was looking for here, and didn't get that. The uni toast is bright. I think it looks beautiful. It's delicious.
I think the fish in this dish needs to have been seasoned a little bit better. Needed a little more salt.
Let's do this, judges. Let's switch plates now and try the other dish.
I really like the depth and the flavor of the sauce.
I think the broth, it's very powerful. It has that heat and that it might overpower some of the delicacies. Like the scallop has a nice sweetness to it, and that heat is a little bit too much for it.
I really like the heat. I love spicy food, so anything with a little bit of kick is great.
Thoughts on the toast?
Delicious.
The first dish is great. That first spoonful of broth really had that elemental ocean breeze going on. With this dish, it's very bright, it's got great colors, it's got great textures. It's just a delicious bowl of food.
The judges have voted. The winner today is Bobby Flay.
Bobby's a strong competitor. He's been doing this a long time, so I think I did pretty good, all things considered.